Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Still out on the road here with Tran. We are doing K-State prep and preview. A lot to discuss as we're discussing. Tran, it's so great to just see your face and, catch up, man. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. And we appreciate, everybody showing love to the channel and helping us grow and, just develop this platform. So we're thankful for that. But Tran, I want to get over to you in terms of just outlook with these opt-outs. So we haven't, I kind of put my thoughts out there earlier this week. And so just want to kind of turn it over to you and let you roll on Samuel Cosmi and Caden Stearns and their decisions to opt out and enter the 2021 NFL Draft.
So do you want me to touch on people tweeting at them, or do you want me to touch on just my feelings?
No, your personal feelings. We can touch on reaction. Your personal feelings.
My personal feelings are, if your last name isn't Stearns or Cosmi, y'all should pipe down. Honestly, this is their decision. I appreciate what they've done these past 3 years here. Well, Cosmi 4 years now. Here at the University of Texas, Sam Cosmi has a chance to be a first-round draft pick. Anyone who's saying he's selfish about opting out, he wasn't selfish at all. He was actually selfless by opting in at the beginning of this year. Was trying to play for a Big 12 championship. Unfortunately, he's not going to be playing for the last 2 games as a Big 12 championship. So what happens if his left guard rolls onto his knee and tears up his knee? It doesn't matter at that point. He's going to drop down to the 3rd or 4th round. I think Connor Williams was lucky that he didn't actually have to have surgery his senior year, but he dropped out of the first round to the second round. And I think you tweeted something earlier today about there hasn't been a first-round offensive player in 15 years. So you said since Vince Young?
Since Vince Young.
This is our best opportunity. And instead of calling him out on being selfish or anything like that, we should applaud him. I know I watch on Sundays and I see, like, Quandre Diggs had a great game this past weekend. There goes that Texas boy. Poona Ford has been playing lights out. There goes that Texas boy. I want a good showing of Longhorns in the NFL, and I want high draft picks too. I don't want any of these undrafted free agents, because it just seems like we get these late draft picks and, hey, they're pretty good. You know that? Like Charles Omenihu. He's apparently balling out. He's the highest rated defensive lineman on Houston. That's not J.J. Watt. So I mean, it's kind of hypocritical for us to say that he's being selfish. We want him to play for us. It's like, that's us being selfish. He's invested almost 4 years of his life here at Texas. Now he's got a winning lottery ticket right now. He's got to focus, because anyone who says that, how do you do it by how do you get better by not putting out film? It's like, they have plenty of film on him. Now he just has to train for this one interview, which involves sprinting as fast as you can, jumping as high as you can, backpedaling with your hips behind you, and also showing your strength through bench press. So what they're going to do is he's going to hire a coach who sets a periodized workout for him that makes him at his best at that specific date. So he's doing the right thing. Caden Stearns, whether I think it's the right thing for him or not, it doesn't matter. What he thinks is the right thing, that's on him. That's it. He's a man. So I call them kids because, honestly, I'm old enough to be their fathers in some cases, but
sure,
he's making an adult decision. anyone who's on this chat who doesn't think that Caden Stearns is an NFL player is wrong. He is an NFL player. He may not be a top 2 round player. I think he's probably going to grade out around 4th round, but he's still going to make a team and he's still going to play well. So we need to wish him well as opposed to degrade him for making a decision for himself and his family. So I mean, that's where I'm standing there.
I appreciate your thoughts there, man. And well said, brother, because it's on them, not us, in terms of, you know, what they're looking at. And yeah, they do have to be accountable to their teammates in terms of the communication there and just where they're coming from. They were both captains, and I've heard a lot of people bring that up the last couple days. Hey, we still have 2 games left in the season. This normally happens around bowl season, whatever. But again, guys, with us being in these COVID times in the middle of a pandemic and them just opting in to play this year, when a lot of guys that had NFL futures may have opted not to play, that we have seen across the country, just protecting themselves, protecting their safety, and doing what's right for them in terms of their current stock. Those guys not only opted to play, but we're trying to win a Big 12 championship. And unfortunately, that dream was killed last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So now we start to look in terms of, and then on top of that, I think the coaching staff, and I didn't touch on this as much, and I want to kind of pivot to this, the uncertainty with the coaching staff does pivot into that, because as a fan, ideally, I want to start using these next 2 games kind of like you use bowl games, because I don't know if we're going to have bowl games like that. I know we're going to have playoffs. I think full confidence saying we'll have playoffs. I don't know if we're going to have bowl games like that. The way this stuff is going in states and in regions and counties shutting down, we don't know what's going to happen. Stanford basketball was talking about not even traveling back. By the way, shout out to the UT men's basketball team for winning the Maui Invitational. But Stanford men's basketball team, which is in North Carolina, which was part of the Maui thing, was talking about not going back to West Coast because they can't really have contact sports at all. So what do? Right? So like this whole narrative, like we don't know, like we thought we were going to play Kansas, 2-3 weeks ago? That didn't happen. It got postponed. So theoretically, Kansas State was supposed to be the last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if we're going to have a bowl. And then on top of that, both of those games are Kansas State are road games. So they've already played their last game at DKR either way. And from a fan, so what I was getting to is from a fan standpoint, I'm looking at it like, okay, what can I get out of 2021 and get jumpstart? The same way I look at bowls when I'm not in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You know, those 15 practice, those extra practices you get, those extra reps, who can we get ready to go? Or who do I want to see that we haven't seen much of all year? Even thinking about a Joseph Osai and a Keandre Coburn before the Sugar Bowl. Remember how excited we were to get them added into the rotation? Because we knew in 2019 going forward, they were going to be our dudes on defense. So let's see what they look like. Well, now we have an opportunity to see more people, not just with Caden and Sam McCosney being out, but other positions that we're going to talk about in this video. So, but coaching-wise, uncertainty. You guys are talking about the season's not over, Steve. The season's not over, Tran. The season's not over. But yet we're over here, rumor-wise, we're talking to Urban Meyer. We're talking like people are saying the coach should have been fired this week. You're hoping the coach gets fired next week. So if you're saying those type of things, you can't then also say the season's not over and you need to stay committed to all this other stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like it's like you want to have your cake and eat it too. I don't know.
I am always the biggest proponent. If you're good enough to play in the NFL, go. Because you can always make up your education later. Yeah, and I get it. You're talking about since there's 2 games left and, you know, the loyalty to the team and everything like that. But, you know, you only have certain amount of years to make that type of money. And
agreed.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen to actually lose that money. So, you know, I applaud them, and I hope that they have a great career. I hope they get drafted higher than than I predicted or anything like that. And I hope they represent the University of Texas well. So
I do want to address Caden Sturge real quick because some of the comments from the last video we made was, hey, he might be an undrafted free agent. Is he another little Jordan Humphrey? From everything I've seen, and even some of the scouting reports, not scouting reports, but some of the draft scouts that I trust, the Matt Millers, the Dane Bruglers of the world, have already said, just off of his freshman tape, he will get drafted. A lot of people, I've only seen one site that doesn't have him in the top 100.
Jordan Humphrey, though, first, that's a bad comparison because he dropped out because of character issues, because he got suspended.
And his workout.
Yes, he got suspended multiple times during his tenure at Texas. You don't have those character issues with Caden Stearns.
Right, so, it's the opposite.
Yeah,
and he ran a 4.8 as a wide receiver. I mean, I love.
Oh, you're talking about Lil Jordan. Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about Lil Jordan. He ran a 4.8 as a wide receiver. Like, no, you're not getting drafted in the NFL. That's like Maurice Clarett and I know he went as a 3rd round pick for the Broncos, but it's like, come on. Caden Stearns, if he's healthy, he'll have the measurables and all the numbers. And then to Tran's point, he'll interview well. The issue is the tape. Recently, his tape recently is poor, in my opinion, especially when it comes to being drafted at the level that I know he wants. Coverage, pursuit angles, things of that sort. But in terms of just what people deem as upside, also the NFL always looks highly on the guys who were highly recruited 5 stars, guys who were. Garrett Gilbert went in the 6th round after transferring to SMU and being a disaster here after the national championship game. He still got drafted. Like, look at some of the people that have been drafted over the years that did close to nothing in college. So to say that you're so sure that he's going to be an undrafted free agent, all this type of stuff. I'm not saying Caden Sturgis is going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick. I'm not saying that at all. Yeah. But do I think he can end up in a similar situation as a Brandon Jones? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's move on to K-State because we still have a game this week, contrary to popular belief. And I know it's it's 11 a.m. We're going to Manhattan, Kansas, and we're going there with we briefly touched on the coaching stuff, but yeah, I mean, this may or may not be Tom Herman's last game as the head coach of the University of Texas. At this point, there's now you're starting to hear rumors from people outside of Texas. Like one of the people that I follow from a Dallas Cowboys perspective talking about, he's hearing Urban Meyer's putting his staff together. For those of you who are familiar with Jeff Kavanaugh up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, like, you're hearing just things now. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know how realistic those things are in terms of commenting on this channel on camera. However, I will say, if I'm Tom Herman, I'm trying to go 7-3 and just sell what I got to Chris Del Conte. And then you also just bank on the fact that Urban's health is a question.
Yeah. And not only that, even if the rumors are true that he knows he's out, this is also tape for his next job, because he's going to fall into another head coaching position almost instantaneously.
Yeah, there's other schools that should pursue Tom Herman, honestly.
So he's going to do whatever he can to win, because I whatever you can say about Tom Herman is he's egotistical and he wants to win. So I think he's going to try to have this team as prepared as possible.
So I know we keep deviating from Kansas State, but it's one of those games where I think Texas right now is favored by 10. And look, just being blunt, I've watched Kansas State quite a bit this year. We all watched that Oklahoma game earlier in the year where they did get the dub, right? And when they had Skylar Thompson.
They had Skylar Thompson,
yeah. And since Skylar Thompson went down, and it's been Will Howard and mostly Will Howard, they had the other guy come in for a little bit, but they've been bad. They're not a good football team right now. They're 4-5. Disappointing season for Kansas State, especially how they started the year. And then they also lost at the beginning of the year to I think it was Lafayette. So
Arkansas State.
Arkansas State. I'm sorry, I don't know. Louisiana,
Iowa State lost.
Yeah. Yeah, so they lost to Arkansas State at the beginning of the year, and then Skylar Thompson goes down. They're 4-5. They actually had a decent Big 12 record up until that point, and then they get blown out 45-0 by Iowa State, who we just played, and we were the better team for 58 minutes, and then we weren't the better team for the 2 minutes that actually mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at all that, how motivated do you think this team will be? Like, what's because I've seen a lot of people say this too, Trey, and I think it's interesting. Who on the team's fighting to keep Tom Herman here as a player?
Yeah,
like where's that energy?
I saw that picture of everyone waiting outside when they were chatting with Charlie Strong. It goes, "Where's that for Tom Herman?" I mean, I don't know. I honestly I can't tell you where, because I'm not in the inner circles or anything like that. Maybe Tom Herman doesn't want them just as an extra distraction. Maybe he's trying to keep it off their minds. To me, it seems like the team listens and follows by Tom Herman, because Tom Herman is a player's coach. He was the one who was insistent on them with the social change this year. He was the one who went against what Del Conte said about the eyes of Texas. He's like, I want you guys to do what you want to do. You remember? So I mean, he's a player's coach. So I wouldn't think that the team he's lost the locker room or anything like that, or he doesn't have any backing from the team. I just don't know where it is from them speaking up from a team perspective, like they did for Charlie Strong. So
I think it's one of those things, just my read on it. I think a lot of these guys, I think there are guys on the roster that love Tom Herman. I really do. I think a lot of the guys on the roster like Tom Herman, and he's a good football coach for them. And I think that's kind of where it is versus the relationship you see with, like, you look at like players like your brother and people from back in the day that talk about Mac Brown. They talk about Mac Brown like he's a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's just levels to it. And this is totally my perception. I could be 1,000% wrong. And dudes behind the scenes are ride or die. And it's like you said, where Tom Herman's like, I'll take all the heat. That totally could be the case. But you're right. When that Charlie Strong presser happened and dudes were posted up there like Malik Jefferson and, Brecken Hager and all these guys who looked at him like a parent.
Mm-hmm.
That was different, man. That whole, and I know they didn't succeed. They were terrible as a team, but it's like they rode or die for Charlie to the point where I thought the pressure actually got to them. And it's interesting because Matt Coleman hits the game winner against North Carolina today, and in the press conference, Matt Coleman says
he did it for Shaka. Yeah. He didn't buckle under the pressure though.
but he did it for Shaka. He said the team is playing for Shaka because they don't like all the noise, all the heat, the pressure he gets, and all the heat. They said he gets a lot of heat in Austin, and I think that just comes with the territory as a job, whatever the position is, because it's just the nature of the beast with our program. But you would think by now you'd see some guys on social media kind of sticking up for the coach, because you can't do it. You can't have the whole Charlie Strong thing because of COVID now and everything's virtual. That makes sense to me. But just being able to say, you know what, these next 2 games we're gonna handle our business, and if you guys want to fire a 7-3 football coach that's ranked, and if we do qualify for a decent bowl, like if that's what y'all want to fire, then you're gonna have to go through us. I can respect that, but I don't. And maybe they are lobbying to Chris Del Conte behind the scenes, but the players just kind of seem, they played hard this year. I'm not questioning anybody's effort. I don't think you are, Tran.
Not at all.
They've played very hard, so it's not a question of him getting them to play. I think my biggest problem with Tom is his words of how he's manifested all these close games. If everything is hard and all you say is everything's hard, how can you ever be dominant? Does that make sense? Like you're never gonna be you're never gonna dominate. No wonder you're nail biting. You're in a nail biter with Texas Tech. Oh man, this is tough. I understand showing an opponent respect to a certain degree, but if that's what you're always saying, then it's gonna manifest with your kids. Of we're gonna be in a fourth quarter war this week against TCU.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, is that what it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, but it can work that way because Mac Brown was kind of that way too. He was ever the politician, never degrading his opponent whatsoever. But no, I see what you said. I see where you're coming from. Even after the game, say we beat UTEP, he honestly could have been like Coach Owen said, that's what we were supposed to do. They
love
aren't
that.
They're not on our level. Like,
I love that, and I'm not, and I don't think Coach O was being disrespectful when he said that about
he was just speaking truth.
Yeah, he was just like, we're not gonna celebrate that like that. Like we did what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to dominate that team. We're way better football team right now as it currently stands.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth, and y'all need to play like it. So I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just, I'm kind of agreeing with you, but at the same time, that's just him. Is that I think he wants kind of like a deep down, he wants like a kind of a scapegoat if there is like one of those failure games. Like, well, they are trying to play for the same thing that we're playing for, so we're gonna get everyone's best game type of thing. But you're right. Excuses over and over again. It gets wearisome.
It does. I do think with in terms of the program too, right? Like because is everything on Coach Sherman's shoulders? Ultimately the buck stops with him because of he's the head coach, the money he makes, the staff. He had an opportunity to put together another staff. He should be held accountable for maybe making some of the wrong decisions with the staff hires initially and them not working out, not having that elite level offensive line coach or, kind of just all over the place with the wide receiver room, just to some of the same recurring issues that we see that are impacting our win-loss record. It's very frustrating. And then the lack of development with certain guys. Now, Tom Herman could say, hey, well, you guys want to hammer me about lack of development. Look at some of the people we have had get out of here.
Sam Cosme, 3-star.
Right.
Joseph Osai, 3-star.
Yeah. So you guys can hammer me, but, and I think at the end of the day, Texas fans are just like, at this point, I think the majority is just like, that's not good enough for here.
Side note, I do want to say,
but it's not good enough.
I do want to say the one name that no one ever talks about in development, Roshan. I mean, guy flipped over from quarterback to running back and is very reliable as a running back. So developing him.
I think I'm, and people hit on this guy all the time, but I've always said there's a reason why 2 NFL teams came after him this past offseason. I think Stan Drayton's an excellent football coach. Mm-hmm. Say what you want about the rotations. I know the rotations are frustrating. Here come the incoming comments there.
Yeah.
About touches. But I think Stan Drayton, in terms of development, is an outstanding football coach, and he's proven that. Even with how bad the offensive line's been, the running backs haven't played poorly, in my opinion. It's not their fault that they're getting hit 2 yards in the backfield every other time they get the football. They're doing everything they possibly can to help us win. Pass game, throw game, blocking game, everything. Now, with Cosme being gone, as well as Caden Stearns, some new opportunities, right? For guys. Let me start with you in terms of, so the depth chart was funny. They had Christian Jones listed at both left tackle and right tackle. So they really just, they really don't care at this point.
So who
And
would you put in there? Would you put in
well, before they
Johnson,
had
or would
on
you put
they before the
Carrick?
season started, throughout the season, they had Carrick as the
Yeah.
backup left tackle. If it seemed like if Cosme were to go down, um, now, but if you think that Reese Moore is further along than Carrick, you need to get a look at Reese Moore, and you know Christian Jones can play left tackle at the level or maybe slightly above Carrick, then do you kick Jones over to left tackle, put Reese Moore at right tackle? I'm speculating at this point the chances of Kerstetter playing center this week are probably below 40%. Who knows? But then we're also going to get a look at Jake Majors probably at center.
Highly rated.
So, right. So there's a lot that these are opportunities now to see, hey, who can I start to look at and rely on for 2021? I'm excited to see that against a very good Kansas State defensive line.
Yes, very good. And I personally think that we're going to have a lot of trouble with them. I know they've been blown out the past 2 weeks, and Baylor ran up 400 yards on them. But their defense.
Well,
the
Baylor
joke.
game, it was 32-31, but the Baylor offense just had a lot of yardage.
They were going up and down the field on them, but their defensive front is no joke. I know they're top in the Big 12. I don't know where they're ranked in the nation in sacks, but Wyatt Hubert, he's going to be a problem for us with the makeshift offensive line that we have going on right now for this game. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, we could do something to chip them. But that's definitely that. I think you and I named off before the video 3 strengths was their special teams, Deuce being their offense, and also the defensive front line.
So when we look at what Deuce Vaughn can do coming out of the backfield and run game's been our strength all season long. And defense just keep the party rolling. That's what I'm looking to see, and just seeing how this whole team in general, I just want to see what their energy is like, because if their energy is fine, they're going to beat Kansas State. If you start to see that, all of a sudden we start missing tackles we haven't missed all year, and people start falling apart, then it's going to be problematic.
Yeah, it is. I don't think that we'll see that. This defense, I'm very pleased with, honestly, for the past 5-6 weeks that we've been playing.
They did everything they could to win that Iowa State game, man.
Yes, they did. Absolutely. And you can't people don't understand how hard it is to be on the field and try to play for as long as they played without giving up big plays. I mean, I think they gave up 2 touchdowns the whole game. Was it 2 touchdowns or was it 3?
2.
Okay. Yeah, they've played great. They held the team to 23 points, and I think that offense is better than the offense we're going to be playing this week. So I expect them to hold them to the mid-20s at least. And I'm just looking for energy from this team. It's going to be an early start. It's going to be reasonably cold, right? I think we looked it up. It's going to be around 40.
Oh, Weatherman Tran in the building.
We looked it up. I don't have an almanac.
Weatherman Tran in the building with the forecast over in Manhattan, Kansas.
But yeah, it's the conditions aren't anything that these kids haven't played in, So that shouldn't be an excuse. It's just more so how focused are they, and that's what I want to see. I want to see energy and some pop, because I do think that we're still more talented than this team, and I think we should beat them.
So when we look at also them being able to harass Will Howard and his lack of experience. Now Skylar Thompson hit on a few big plays on us last year. Malik Knowles, I think, is still around. He had a 70-yard touchdown against us think to start the game, or it was early. But things we just struggled with last year, and it, that was one of the games where Todd Orlando, it's like, what's the game? Do we understand the personnel we're facing this week? Why are we doing this? And I think with this particular team, Kansas State, the way they play kind of flows into what Chris Ashton naturally likes to do, stopping the run up front, and just forcing the quarterback and these guys to beat you. And they've really, really struggled throwing the football. They've been creative in special teams and trying to create offense or just something in a myriad of ways. But I do think Kansas State, that's going to be a struggle for them. The issue, though, is our offense. Our offense has been an issue. We talked about the offensive line matching up with Wyatt Hubert and some of those other guys over there that have been getting sacks, getting pressure all year, harassing. Now, we'll say in terms of the Kansas State defense, they've been kind of the get-right game the last couple of weeks because Charlie Brewer went for 360 and then ran for another 60 yards. So he had 400-plus yards of offense, like Tran noted earlier. Brock Purdy got right against Kansas State defense the week before. West Virginia played very well against that. So you have these quarterbacks who, may have been struggling or been a little bit and then they'd go out and play very, very well against Kansas State despite the pass rush. Could that be the case for Sam Ehlinger? And it's probably going to be his second to last game. So I'm curious to see what I would like to see, Tran, honestly, is the wide receivers play better, man, and start to develop some rapport. I know guys. I know some of these guys like Alvonte Woodard and Marcus Washington and some of the people that haven't gotten a whole bunch of time and maybe not know why. Even a Clavante Dixon, they've got to be frustrated at this point. But at the same token, the best players got to be on the field consistently. Like, I'm excited that Jordan Whittington's going to be able to play football 2 weeks in a row. We can't wait till the third quarter for Jake Smith to catch his first pass. Stuff like that. We can't start the game with Britton Eagles getting 70 yards and then he doesn't have a target until the third quarter.
Yep. When he was a matchup nightmare, and we knew it. Also, we're not even touching on the tight ends. I want to see. I know we've been harping on this all season, but I want to see some targets over the middle, over a little seam route to either of the tight ends. Epps or Wiley. K Brewer. He's gotten his targets, but I want to see the young guys get some action as well.
Even Liebrook too.
Yep.
Whoever, throw people in there, man. Let's see them. Now's no time like the present. That's why I was like, if it was me, I do like all those like Brendan Eagles. I expect to, unless he surprises and leaves, I expect him to be here next year. Jake Smith, I expect him to be here. Jordan Williams, I expect Joshua Moore, the people that I know are going to be back. I need them to get that confidence and just ball the last few games. But some of these other positions like K Brewer, hey, you walked on senior day, awesome. I really got to see what Jared Wiley and Malcolm Epps can do.
You'll still get some reps, man. Don't worry about it. But these guys are gonna take some of those normal reps, those normal 30 reps that you get. So I agree with you completely on that. But we also can't forget about Joshua Moore. I think his targets have gone down so much recently. We can't forget about him.
And we just don't scheme with it. We haven't taken advantage of his gifts like we did earlier in the year. Will we see any traces of Mike Yurcich's offense this week? Because he's somebody who has that type of player, has historically had a lot of success in this type of offense, but unfortunately we just haven't been able to leverage it this year. And whether it's COVID and again, we've talked about this every week, and it's been a recurring excuse of installation and not really whose offense is it, and is it a hybrid of what they want to do? Who knows? I think at some point in the future, if this staff is no longer here, we'll find out the truth. But for now, I just want these guys to get the reps, ball out, and have that confidence these last couple games. especially the younger guys that are going to be there to help us in 2021 that we really need. Is there anybody else you're taking a look at? I mean, look, even Bijan Robinson, right? Like we fed him the ball early last week. We tapered off of it after they adjusted the outside zone, and then it was kind of a struggle. Can we get him back over 100 yards rushing or 100 yards total offense? My goal for him is, if I'm Stan Drayton and the staff, is you've got to be over 100 yards next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Let's go into the next season with you having starting off with a 100-yard streak for rushing.
I agree. I would like to see him get to in the season but going into the bowl game with close to 600 yards rushing. I think he's at 350 now. So if we can get 125 each week, hey, and I know he could probably get 125 against Kansas. So let's start with here. Let's start force feeding people. Let's see what we have. I really don't want to see Tariq Black. I really don't want to see Brendan Schooler. No offense to them, but they're gone after this year.
Agree. Unless they've told the staff they're coming back.
They're coming
if they're
back,
gone. Yeah.
Let's Marcus Washington. Wasn't he the Under Armour All-American MVP or something like that? So yeah,
and one of the best players. Yeah, one of the best players in camp all week. Now he can't find snaps. It's just weird. I know he's been dealing with an ankle thing too, so it's not all the staff's issue. But this is the type of stuff again. Like, and I really like the Andre Coleman hire, and I think he's a really good dude. But this is the type of stuff where you start to look at the position coaches. Did we change a little too much technique stuff year over year from what they were being taught? They had two different position coaches. They had the inside receivers coach, outside receivers coach. Like, this is the stuff that adds up that goes to Tom Herman. We're talking strictly ball here right now, right? I'm not talking about culture and all that type of stuff. I'm talking about ball. Like, that's the type of stuff where you start to say, why aren't you identifying this sooner and fixing it, Tom? Because and then because you cannot go into Caleb Burton's home in Austin, Texas, and say we're the best school for you.
Yeah, and Selvis. Yeah. It wouldn't be that bad if it started off like the defense started off, and then progressively they got better and better and better, because we went hey, we're now developing. We're now developing them. Look, they're getting better. But no, we've gotten worse on offense, because we started off like gangbusters on offense. Putting up
at one point, we were leading the country in scoring.
Yeah.
How about that? All right, predictions. What you got?
31-24, Texas. I know if we lose, trans curse, the trans curse for me picking Texas. But guess what? Guess what we're fighting for? We're fighting for third place in the Big 12.
So, is it my turn to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I think this is going to be a weird game. I don't like any of the vibe for the game, and the offensive line seems weird. And I just think this team is just dejected after the Iowa State game. I think they should win. I don't think Kansas State is good. I'm just struggling. Like, I think Kansas State will cover, though. Weirdly, like you had it, like where it's within 7. I think Texas will do enough to win, but I think it's going to be another 20-17 type game. I'm going to go Texas 20-17, where it's just, not good football. We're controlling the game. Defense is playing well. Maybe they probably played too many snaps again, or they give up something on special teams, because Kansas City is good on special teams. But, and then the big question mark for the players is just the energy level. Who are you playing for? Are you playing for your coach? Are you playing for pride? What are we playing for? And, are we going to give a professional effort on Saturday morning? It's my question.
Yeah.
Especially once your
I'll say a lot about this. Yeah, that'll say a lot.
That
about
will
this
say a
team.
lot.
So
They come out there like gangbusters and still flying around and they still have that football is fun mentality. That will say a lot, in my opinion, about how the team feels, I should say. But you guys let us know in the comments how you feel, and just everything we discussed. And Tran, I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on the opt-outs. It was, I know it came from the heart, and that's what you truly believe. And I just wanted to let you roll there, so I appreciate it. And guys, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Anything else?
no, when you come back to the States?
Hopefully next week. I'm in the States. If you're not in Texas, you're not in the country. You're not in Texas. Hey, I went to the East Coast. The Longhorn basketball team came to the East Coast and handled their business, so all's well. All's well.
Weren't they in
I'm hanging in.
Hawaii?
I appreciate everybody.
Weren't they in Hawaii?
They were in Hawaii on Zoom. They had the Zoom background for the kids to take a picture.
Gotcha.
Maui champions, baby.
Yep. That's what's up.
Yep. All right. Well, appreciate it. Again, everybody that's, prayers, well wishes. I really, really, in all seriousness, I know we've been joking a lot today, and it's trying to be cheerful and pep everybody up. And that's why I've just, I opened with some jokes, and, hopefully I didn't offend anybody or say anything that, people are going to get mad about or anything like that. It's tough times right now. So just trying to keep it light. Appreciate everybody. Horns always up.